Alrighty, so we're going to get started. We have a mission statement in Broomfield. It's working in partnership with the community. The City and County of Broomfield provides excellent services in an efficient, respectful, and courteous manner to enhance and protect the environment and quality of life for Broomfield citizens. Broomfield is approaching 65,000 residents. I remember when I moved here back in 1966, we had about 6,500 residents. So things have changed. Broomfield, according to Inc. magazine, is one of the top 5 cities in the country with companies per capita. And that's no mistake. Broomfield works very diligently in attracting companies and corporations here in order to help keep your taxes down. We have a long-range financial plan that was started back in the 2000s. And it was very important to establish a long-range financial plan because as a county, we could no longer bail ourselves out by annexing like cities do. So we had to come up with a plan so that when we came to build out, which we project around 120,000 residents, that we would be able to sustain ourselves and have a good mix of commercial, retail, and residential. So the long-range financial plan. All right, this is Broomfield's revenue in the various sections where we get our revenue. Broomfield gets a lot of its revenue, obviously, from sales tax. This year, we're going to have about $49 million collected in sales tax, and I think that's important. The revenue that we get, is used to provide most of our services, in fact, all of our services. Broomfield currently is at about 28.96 mils. Broomfield sales tax is 4.15, and that's 3.5 city, 0.4 county, and then the voters approved a 0.25 sales tax for parks and recreation. So, okay, we're on to expenditures. One thing I want to talk about expenditures, when I first got on council, one of the things that I wanted to do was create some reserves. So our city council actually, every year in the budget, we save 16.67% of our expenditures into reserves. That equates with our budget of about $18 million. And I think that's important to have. When you think about other cities like New Orleans, for example, when they had the flood, Katrina, they were out of money in 2 days. So Broomfield, we don't go paycheck to paycheck, but we can actually provide services for 4 months without collecting any taxes, the essential services. So I think that's important, to keep in mind. According to what magazine? Well, I don't remember what magazine it is, but Denver metro area is actually the 16th largest metro area in the United States. There's about 3 million people within a 20-mile radius in Broomfield. Last year, we created about 881 new jobs. We're fortunate to have SCL. They used to be based in Leavenworth, Kansas. They're moving their corporate headquarters to Broomfield next year, which will bring another 800 jobs. These are some of the companies that we've attracted. We had 8 new companies come to Broomfield in 2013. Again, talking about how important it is for us to attract these new companies. We're really lucky. We got Bo Martinez and his staff working. What we have here in US 36, we've branded as a creative corridor. And when you look at some of the companies we have, GoCo Aircell, they provide communications to airlines, small planes. Companies like Oracle, which obviously is one of the software leaders in the country. We're really lucky to have some of those. And we're actually launching a marketing campaign to build awareness for Broomfield. We actually had some consultants check, and Broomfield's name's actually branded really well. When we actually get more recognition than most of the cities around us. The Westminster, Thorntons, like that, people don't see them. But most people recognize Broomfield and the site selectors nationally. Broomfield is well known because of the Interlochen Park and because of the way we work with our residents. So we're pretty lucky. And one of the things that, we're actually pretty happy about, quite frankly, is city has a really good collaboration with the Broomfield Chamber. And with the Broomfield Chamber, you know, yes, we go out and we attract these large businesses, but the backbone of any economy is the small business. So we're lucky. We partner with them to do the Broomfield Resource Center. And I think, you know, those things are really important. You know, last year, I think they served about 147 clients, and I have no idea how many new companies that were created out of that. But one of the big things about the Broomfield Resource Center, if you start a new business and you go to a bank and get a loan, you need 2 years' worth of tax returns in order to get that business loan. Does anyone know why? Because 80% of businesses fail before 2 years. So if a bank asks you for a loan, if you go ask the bank for a loan, they want to see 2-year tax returns because they feel like you're probably going to be around a little bit longer. So I think those are important to remember. Broomfield, are we safe? You know, we're actually, I believe the staff is interviewing chiefs. They've got it down to 6 candidates, and we're supposed to announce on November 7th. You know, we were fortunate to have someone that I grew up and played football with back in high school, Tom Dealin, retired after 37 years on the police force and 23 years as chief, and, you know, got some big shoes to fill, but we've got some great candidates and look forward to seeing who that new chief is. And to tell you what, Broomfield's a safe place. If you look at homicide, we don't have many. We had 1 homicide last year and it was solved. But if you look nationally and compare to where Broomfield is on the closed cases nationally, Broomfield is a very, very safe place to live. And occasionally I have people tell me it seems like every time I drive to King Soopers I see a police car. And I go, you're welcome. That's one of the things that the city council, when we do the budget, you know, we're going to make sure that we take care of our police department, because when you see people walking our 265 miles of trails, they feel very safe. And it's important to feel safe in our community. These are some of the services that we complete: 617 restaurant inspections, 77 free seat checks, 3301 fire hydrants served. You know, and actually Broomfield, some of the things that aren't on the slide, we're 100% in compliance with our drinking water standards. I think that's important. Broomfield's got pretty good water. I know a lot of people buy bottled water, but I would venture to say some of our water is better than some of the bottled water that you buy. Why is that? Well, because we check it about 32,000 times a year. We check our water constantly. It's important that that water be monitored at all times. One of the other things that I should mention on the police department, council's authorized us to update our information system with the police department so we have better communications. Now we're going to get into transportation. Being mayor, I end up spending a lot of time in transportation. And that's a good thing. That's important to the economic vitality of Broomfield and our region. If you look at Broomfield, we're going to start with Highway 7. Last month, I got together and I was able to get the mayor of Brighton, Thornton, Erie, Lafayette, and Boulder, county commissioners for Boulder and Adams County, all to sit down and talk about how do we work collaboratively with Highway 7. One of the most important intersections in our region is going to be I-25 and Highway 7. But it makes sense to sit down and talk with the other communities, make sure that the curb cuts look correct, and get Highway 7. It's going to be so important. So one of the things that came out of the inaugural meeting, which was kind of amazing, is Boulder had an application to get some funding. They wanted to investigate RTD transportation for bus rapid transit along Highway 7. Well, we actually, at that meeting, got them to expand that, and every city along that corridor went ahead and signed on, yes, we approve it. So one meeting, and we're already working together at getting a funding to investigate transportation. And Highway 7 is important because when you look at the overall scheme of things, you've got the North Metro Rail that's coming up from the fast tracks that the voters passed in 2004. That's coming up to Highway 7. And so it's very important for us to be able to have access on Highway 7 so residents can catch that North Metro line. Plus, we've got some very exciting projects that are happening up there. Between Sheridan and I-25, 66 acres, we've got an advanced technology center. The University of Colorado purchased 66 acres. So it's important to try to get that transportation in place and have plans in place before it comes. Typically, because of the lack of funds, just the way it is, we're usually trying to wiggle in traffic after we've already built out. So this is an opportunity along Highway 7 to try to get ahead of the curve. West Connect. West Connect is a coalition. I was talking with the commissioner from Jefferson County, Don Rozier, in Washington, D.C. when we were out there lobbying. And he asked me about US 36. He said, how did you guys do it on US 36? You guys brought in $500 million for the corridor. How'd you do that? And I have to say, that US 36 coalition is pretty amazing. And one of the most amazing things about it, it's done with a handshake. There is no written agreement. It's a handshake. So you've got Broomfield, Westminster, Louisville, Superior, Boulder County, and Broomfield all working together collaboratively with a consensus, with one voice on a handshake. So it's amazing. So anyway, Don and I were talking about it, and this is very important to the economic vitality of Broomfield to get this West Connect done from 470 by I-70 up to US 36 by the mall to get this connection made. So we came up with, he actually is leading this one, coming up with West Connect. We're in partnership with Jefferson County, Arvada, Lakewood, Golden, and actually Morrison actually intersects there. And we've actually framed the conversation, and what you have to do when you start a coalition is you've got to frame what is you want to get done. And what our frame is, we want to connect those lines from 470 to 36. How we get there, whether it be a P3, whether it be CDOT, jump up and create a bunch of money and get it done, we don't care. We just want to get it done. US 36 Express Lanes project, as I alluded to earlier. We had many people go to Washington for years, and people question, well, why do you go to Washington? What are you lobbying for? This is it. This is the big thing. This is the pork that we brought back to Broomfield. So, you know, those couple $1,000s that we spend each year going to Washington, and we go to Washington, we're meeting with the senators. I mean, this goes back to Wayne Allard and Nighthorse Campbell and Udall and all the senators, the previous mayors, you know, the Karen Stewarts, the Pat Quinn, the Bill Barons. We've been going after this money for a long time, and many council members have also gone on these lobbying trips. If we didn't, trust me, when you go to Washington, you run into all sorts of people from all over the country looking for that same pocket of money. So we were able to get some federal funds to get this project moving forward. Currently, the RTD Express Lanes, that was the P3 partnership. That's actually going to be the new way of doing things in the future. When you go back to Washington, you talk to other municipalities, when you look at what Miami did and those type things, they're all using these public-private partnerships to get things done. CDOT now, if you want a project in Colorado with the Colorado Department of Transportation, like our overpass that we did, that was an $80 million project. CDOT doesn't have the money to give us all $80 million, so the city and county of Broomfield had to come up with $20 million. That's the way it is anymore. They want to take the money that they get and stretch it and get involved in as many projects so they can pat themselves on the back, which is great, but you have to be able to come up with some money. You got to have some skin in the game to get it done. And Broomfield's doing that now. We're actually taking money and we're setting it aside for 144th. So next year we'll have, was it $10 million, something like that, Sam? Set aside so we can start working on trying to solve some of those traffic issues. So US 36 is interesting because it's a multimodal project and has I think it's an 8 or 12 bike lane, and that's how we got it through Washington. If we talk about the Northwest Rail Fast Tracks, the voters voted for that in 2004. What's unfortunate about Fast Tracks is when Cal Marcella and his team at RTD at the time, when they were doing their financial projections, they only missed by about $2 billion. That's not funny. But you're paying those taxes, and it's up to myself and other council members. We have to go down to state. We go to an organization called Dr. Cog, Denver Regional Council of Governments, so we got to go down there and fight and try to go get money and get our fair allocation. If we don't, if you're not down there, you're not seen. If you're not seen, you don't get money. So Broomfield likes to stay in front of these people and to get these things done. I mean, just the small things that we've been able to get going to Washington, like a $10 million Tiger grant. Next is NATA. That's the North Area Transportation Alliance. I will tell you where this started. This started with Kathy Novak, the mayor of North Glen, Eric Hansen, who at the time was the mayor of Thornton, myself, and Nancy McNally, Karen Stewart. Nancy McNally's with Westminster. What was happening was RTD, we passed the tax in 2004 for fast tracks. And you've got all these lines. You got the South Line, you got the Gold Line, you got the line going out to the airport, and you looked and all these projects were getting done except for the North. The North was being ignored. There's no secret to why T-Rex, when that project was done and I-25 was widened from downtown Denver to Lincoln, that there's no toll roads. The South Side, I got to give them credit. They've been organized for a long time. They've been working together collaboratively for a long time. And the North End, we're sitting up there twiddling thumbs. I tell you, it was in bad shape. So in 2008, NATA was formed, the North Area Trans Alliance. I was actually helped formulate that. And now I get to go back. And it's interesting, if that NATA group hadn't been formed, I will tell you that North Line that's going to be going up north along I-25 in Washington area and will be complete in 2018 up to the 128th station, I don't think that would have happened. I don't think if we were standing there at a table and say, hey, it's on the plan, we want our money, we need to take care of our citizens. Our citizens, we're one of the 7 counties that pay into this, we want our fair share of money. And that's what it's about for me, is getting our equitable share of money to be invested into Broomfield City and County because you all paid for it. A new coalition. Oh, I didn't know the microphone actually worked. Anyway, the North I-25 corridor. This is a new coalition, but again, this is an important one for us to be on. We actually have a fair amount of citizens that go up to Longmont, Loveland, Fort Collins to work, and we have a fair amount of employees that come down from Fort Collins, Longmont, and Loveland to work in Broomfield. And again, this intersects with our State Highway 7 and I-25, and we're working on this now to try to expand the services. So, it's interesting. I forgot to mention along US 36, as that grows, we actually have 3,000 multifamily and apartment units being built in the permit process, and that's only second to Denver's Lodo, which has 10,000. So people want to live along US 36. So backtracking US 36, it's very important that we get that bus rapid transit system going. The commuter rail along 36, well, currently that's projected to be looked at and funded maybe in 2042. And that's the way it is. But, I found out something interesting a couple weeks ago. If you go and look at where the Burlington Northern, they're holding up everybody hostage. They want $200 million to talk, just to talk. They actually have easements that they can handle up to 4 tracks. And currently they got 1 track going down. They have 2 in some areas. So the room's there. But maybe if you think about it, or the way technology is, maybe in 20 years by the time we get there, maybe commuter rail isn't the way to go. Maybe there's some new technology, a monorail or something like that, where you can go above and below and, do something along those lines. But we'll need to get it done because we're going to have a lot of people traveling up and down 36. 19th best place to live in the USA. I think we're number 1, but according to Money Magazine, we're number 19. But that's not bad when you think of all the cities in the country. I think it's important to think when you look at Broomfield, all the parks that we have in Broomfield, it's no accident. George DeCero, back when he got his degree from CU and architect school and all that, land planning, the idea was to have a park within walking distance for every kid. And don't you think Broomfield has a lot of parks? We try to have parks close so kids and families can go enjoy them. There's not a place in Broomfield that you're more than a mile away from a park. And that was by no accident. And actually, one of the things we actually just did with the Public Art Committee, if you haven't been there, we've got the Broomfield Sculpture Trail, which is in the County Commons. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to go take a look at it. You know, those things are important. 265 miles of trails. You heard me mention that earlier. We have an event every year we call the Trail Adventure. It was actually initiated when I was on the Open Space and Trails Committee. Rob Bodine thought, hey, we ought to have a Trails Adventure, you know, at the same time, because there's actually a National Trails Adventure, which is the first Saturday in June. So we do that. But it's great for us because we're a vibrant community. There's a lot of people out there walking. And what we wanted to do at the National Trails Day Adventure is every year showcase something new that Broomfield has done to improve the trails, whether it be a new underpass under Sheridan, a new trail connection. So every year we have a trail adventure. I encourage you to go. Last year we did it out by Sienna Reservoir. It was a beautiful morning, a beautiful vista, and I encourage you to go. We've got 5,200 acres of open space, which is that's quite a bit actually. A lot of that open space is along the Northwest Parkway, but I think those things are important. One of the other things that Broomfield does is we have the One Book, One Broomfield. I just have to mention that. How many people have read the book, Chief Left Hand? Very good. You know, actually, if more of you could read it, it's really interesting. Chief Left Hand, his Indian name is Niwot. So if you read this book, you'll learn a lot about the history of this area. It's pretty interesting. So the Broomfield has a program called One Book, One Broomfield. I encourage you to do it. And actually, we're talking about the miles of trails, and I was talking with Pete yesterday, and I said, you know, we ought to do something a little bit different during the summer, because in the library, you got a book program. You read so many books, kids get an award. And one of the things that the city and county, the Health and Human Services, is looking at is fighting obesity. And I was thinking, well, maybe we can do a 100-mile trail challenge next year. Yeah, I know no one's heard of that because we just thought of it yesterday. Some of the other things that your community, you know, that we're doing is we're upgrading the locker rooms in the Paul Durder Rec Center. Some of you might say about time. We've also got, you know, there was a promise made back years ago. There was a big fight on the field. Should that be kept as open space or athletic fields? And you talk about filling the council chambers. That filled the council chambers. But Broomfield made a promise, and the promise was we were going to create some athletic fields. So we did. And now it's time to complete and do the yellow pod. So if you're familiar with the Commons, the yellow pod is the spot on the north of Community Park Drive. And we need to do it. We've got new sports out there that are getting more and more popular. Lacrosse. Back when I was in school, who heard of lacrosse? And now that's growing and it's vibrant, and we've got many, many teams. Sean was here earlier. He's with Thunder. He had to leave, but he came and told me that this last year they had 31 teams sign up for fall ball, and they've got 55 teams that are going to play spring ball. That's a lot of kids using our fields. And the Broomfield Soccer Club, I have no idea how many kids they have. It's in the thousands. And then also just to mention, one of the things that we're going to spend money on is improving the backstage area at the Audi. And so these are all good things to have. We're also adding a construction inspector. As we've got new building construction, new housing starts, currently we've got a few people that are on contract. We're going to go create another position to have a full-time inspector. That actually will save us about $75,000. And then we're also going to be doing a program for innovative education of programs that coexisting with wildlife. In other words, how to yell at coyotes. We're also working on, actually had somebody come in, we're working on plans at the Broomfield Corners. That's the Kmart Hobby Lobby. So Bo and I and others are working on that. There's some proposals coming forward. So yes, there are some vacancies in Broomfield, but you know what's really nice? There's people interested in filling those vacancies. And so we're going to work on that. Health and Human Services building. You know, when I was actually on the committee for us to become a city and county, I was actually a worker bee. I was the guy that went around to Grand Junction, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland, you name any large city over 10,000 people, and I put a sign on the big intersection saying, vote yes on C. I was the worker bee. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and put the signs up before the Bronco games along the ramps. I was that guy out there. I loved doing that. It was fun, and we won. But one of the things, when we did that, one of the main reasons that the city and county was formed was for access to health and human services. That was one of the main things. We've been working out of an old building that we've had. I remember working in that building in high school. I actually helped build the jail. We're looking at the city council. One of their priorities was to come up with a new health and human services building. That's in progress. I will let you know that city council is doing this kind of like pay as you grow. We are not bonding. We are not going to have debt on this building. We're actually paying for it in cash. And I think that's... Yeah, thank you. That goes to, you know, we've got a lot of council members. There's several council members here, Lislaw Evans, Sam Taylor, Sharon Tessier. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Martha Durda. And Mike Shelton. You know, these are the council members that do the work. You know, we work collaboratively. We get out there in the campaign season, and we might get out there, but when we get together at council, it's nonpartisan. We work together to get things done for Broomfield. I'm very, very proud of the council we have. We work hard together. I think that's important. You know, I really do, you know, because, well, how could I say this politically correct? I'll just say, do you know what you call a group of baboons? You know what that's called? It's called a Congress. Anyway, I digress. Very important for Broomfield. You know, with the Affordable Care Act, we've got about 1,714 people that are taking advantage of that. We've added 924 people to the Medicaid rolls, which is about a 36% increase in last year. But some things to note, 32,000 total meals for seniors were served at the community center, plus another 20,000 for Meals on Wheels. This community cares. And anybody that got to go and see Beth Fauché at the Broomfield Dancing with the Stars, what a moment, right? That was a wonderful moment. That's one of my favorite things I've seen in a long time. 1,937 immunizations. So we have a very caring community. Oh, this is what I was talking about, the water analysis, 20,000. I think I said 32, I'm sorry. There's a lot of numbers up there. We're also doing things like joint funding with RTD to expound the boundaries of call and ride. That's a program where it's a 70-30 split, and RTD pays 70, we pay 30. Again, to get things done, you have to help contribute. But we'll check that. I think that's a 2 or 3 year program. We'll see how that goes. And garbage. This is our spring cleanup. I remember one day on the agenda, we had the spring cleanup come up, and Kathy Schnorr, City and County Broomfield, we were doing the cleanup days. You know, how do you get rid of some of this large debris? And so we decided, well, let's do an overall city cleanup to benefit citizens. This really doesn't cost you any money. We're doing it for free. On that agenda item had John Abood, who's now the president or whatever of the, the North Metro Fire District, was there with the Rotary Club. And they were asking, they were just coming up on petitions and communications to talk about a Rotary fundraiser where they were getting goods together for the ARC. Well, I'm looking at the agenda and I thought, well, why don't we do these on the same day? And why don't we advertise for ARC the same time we do the spring cleanup? And that's what we did. And we got last year about 30,000 tons of goods for ARC that they can use to benefit, you know, that population. So this spring cleanup is great. It's really great. And actually one of the things that I thought of when I was going over these slides, wouldn't it be nice if we picked up big screen TVs? Because that's one of the things that they will not pick up. So maybe we ought to have a big screen day pickup. I just come up with ideas and the council gets to go, oh my gosh, what's he talking about? Oh, I'm on plenty of medications, I'll tell you what. You have to get up this early in the morning. I'm always up early, so it doesn't matter. This year, some of the things that council is going to be doing is we're going to be updating our comprehensive plan. The last time we updated the comprehensive plan totally was in 2005, so it's time to go ahead and update that comprehensive plan. One of the other things that council, we were doing the budget last night, we've appropriated funds to do another citizen survey, and I encourage you all to do that, participate in that citizen survey, because it kind of gives us direction on what do people want to see, what do people want, how are we doing, where can we improve. It's your opportunity to tell us what you would like to see done. So I think that's very important. We're also improving our customer service software to help with the customer experience and to simplify interdepartment communications. That's real important. 2015 is actually another reappraisal year, and you know, just want to let you know, because of the great work we're doing in Broomfield, people want to live here, so we'll probably see some increase in those the tax rates, the appraisal rates coming up in the future. One of the things that Broomfield's doing is community engagement. Whoop. There it is. So Jennifer Hoffman and her staff has been working on community engagement. And I got to tell you, this is one of the results. We've never had a state of the city and county, so this is new. But we are understanding that you need to use Facebook. You need to use Twitter. There's some other icons on here. Honestly, I don't know what they are. You know, but I got on Facebook so I could keep track of my kids. Now I think they've gone to something else, you know. Seriously, what does that green one mean? Lime? Fine. Okay.
You're in witness protection, doesn't fly.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I'm safe. How much time do I have? Perfect! Good luck to the candidates. I'm glad I didn't leave any time for questions. That's always the goal. Thank you very much for being here.